Greetings, Mindcrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion on this beautiful day in northern Vermont. Still April and still snow. That's what I love about up here anyway. It's one of the many things I love about here. Up here comes little G. So my name is Kimberly Quinn, and that's little Giovanni way over there. We are your hosts and hostess with the most and mostest in the deep woods. Conversations about how to become the boss of your brain. And so today's conversation is about just that, because we become what we focus on. And a lot of people think this is touchy-feely. Well, you know what? Try it and find out, because it isn't. Neurologically speaking, and many of you who watch the episodes know that I have a pet peeve with people who say, based on neuroscience, and then you're listening and you got nothing. I'm not saying that the whole episode isn't good, but it's kind of like false news, you know what I mean? So I really do have a doctorate in cognitive psychology, and I'm telling you, it's all about the neurons, all about the neurons. And so what we focus on, which means what we are attenuating to, which is just a sexy 14-karat word for paying attention, is also, well, not only our life becomes that, but it's also the only thing that makes it into long-term memory. So let's just say, for example, I said, okay, let's count the evergreen trees right behind me, just directly behind me. And we could even give markers. I don't have markers. Let's just say I put a red stick here and another red stick over there, right behind me. It'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we could do like a back thing and just count them. You could do it, right? Well, then if we you closed your eyes after that, and then you open them back up, and I'd say, well, how many rocks were directly behind me? And that's a very, within that same little stakes, that's a very easy answer. They're right behind me. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, but you wouldn't have seen it because that wasn't the directive. It was more than likely wouldn't have seen it. It was to count the evergreen trees. Or we could have had, a few birds, whatever. Or we could have done it in a non-wood setting and say, count everything that's blue on that shelf. And then you close your eyes, and then I say, okay, open them out. Well, how many orange things are there? You'd be like, well, you didn't say that. You said blue. That's because that is selective attention. And I also have to give a shout out to Tony Robbins. I was listening to him again today. He's definitely on my list of people to do lunch with. So I've been talking about this forever. So he's just kind of like the sauce on the sundae. We become what we think about all day long. And it's why it's so incredibly important to gatekeep your thoughts. Absolutely, just so important. And when we are just sort of in kind of cruise control, we call autopilot mode, biggest thief of life minutes that there is. And I'll tell you, I had a moment of this today, actually. And I have the strategies, I know what to do, and it was still hard. So I know what days are like in that way when we just feel so racy. It's not necessarily negative. I think usually it's anxiety. Sometimes we're just excited. And that's definitely me on the way into campus. I'm like, because I have so many thoughts circling around. Remember, I'm in the Fast Mind Club, so that's kind of my everyday. And they're just, they're just going all over. I want to start with this. I want to make sure I get to that. And it's like, duh. And then today I did. I'm not normally an anxious person. I had some anxiety this morning. I said, you know what? I got to go out to the woods, really, really drop in. I already dropped in before I even got here, to be truthful with you. I did a 15-minute guided meditation before I ever even set foot in the woods, because I just knew that I needed to. I knew that for myself, I needed to do that this morning, just being humbly honest, or humble and honest, or however you want to say. Because even this, nobody's completely exempt from anxiety or stress. Even if you're working at it all the time, right? We're constantly learning and growing, and life happens to make us grow, and that's sort of what happened. Had a little curveball. And again, I'm actually grateful for the contrast. Not that we like it. No one's saying that, but I'm grateful for the growth that comes out of contrast. That's a much better way to put it. So it wasn't anything huge. It's just like a little petty, stupid thing. But it did kind of get me, a little racy. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, guided meditation. Actually, I did my gratitude journal always first. Hot tea, and I started to do something that productive. I said, you know what? None of this is going to happen until I clear my mind. And so that's what I did, the 15-minute guided meditation thing. I felt loads freer. And I said, okay, G, we're going to go out into the woods, and we're going to get it done. And we're going to also talk about this, because it is actually, in my opinion, because I needed it today myself, it's so incredibly important to, obviously, to keep it real. I mean, there's no question. What else is there? I don't even have a patience for anything else. But when I'm in it, it's even more authentic, because I'm like, am and easing out of that today myself. So whatever we focus on, so if we kind of cave in to those, racy monkey mind thoughts, all the what if thinking, all the catastrophizing, we cave into that. And remember the 17-second thing. When it goes on longer than 17 seconds, it's even more of an uphill push, right? Doesn't mean it can't be done. Obviously it can. It just takes more, mental juice, elbow grease, whatever you want to say. And so it's very, very, very important to realize that and to shift out of that as soon as you can. So it doesn't mean not to allow yourself to feel negative emotion. If something just happened to you, of course. But then you got to close the chapter. Like, to feel is to heal, and then shift out. Because the longer we reside there, we're going to become whatever that is. And then it sinks into the body. Joe Dispenza does a lot of work with that. And the body actually learns to be anxious to the point where it says, well, Joe would call it an addiction. Which, again, I would use a different word, but he is right. It's a conditioned situation, so it's not really different. So we get conditioned to feeling anxious, so to the point where the body gets addicted. Just like the body gets addicted to anything else, the body gets addicted to fear or guilt or shame or whatever. The body's kind of saying, okay, mind, I don't need you to kick out those thoughts first, because I got this. I can just run with that fear all day long and just feel tight in the chest and sweaty with a racy heart and high blood pressure and all that stuff. I'm good. I'm all set. So we really want to make sure that we are gatekeeping our thoughts to prevent that from happening. We got to stay on it really daily, to be honest with you. And like anything else, it does get easier. I mean, anything we practice, inevitably we get better at, right? Right, Giovanni says definitely. But it's not like we can really ever be asleep at the wheel. It gets easier. We definitely also, our awareness increases where we can sort of notice that we're sliding into that quickly, faster than we did before, which is enormously helpful. Because, obviously if we nip it in the bud, then our whole day has a whole different turnaround. And then, okay, so we focus on, right, Jay? What we focus on, what we think about all day long, where that energy is where we place our energy, right? And so that's how our day unfolds, rather than, a much more pleasant, experience with our life minutes on that day. And the other thing is, in addition to the focusing, there's the meaning component, because the only sort of impact, or the only juice, or the only, like when we have that stuff going on, it just feels like it digs its claws into us or something. The only juice that person or situation or whatever it is has is very attached to the meaning that we assign to it. And so Tony actually brought up he said he's one of his favorite people. Is definitely one of my two favorite psychologists, Viktor Frankl, who survived, the Nazi concentration camps, and his whole life's work was about telling his story so this doesn't happen again, and all the meaning behind it, and how our whole drive is as people, in order to stay on this happy, authentic track, this authentic track, is to find our own sense of meaning and purpose. It's so huge, and without it is a straight road to depression. So in addition to we got to whatever we focus our attention on is where we place our energy. It also gains momentum with the meaning we assign to it, and that can go either direction, right? It can go, just whipping around in anxiety all day long because we're not stopping those thoughts. And it can also go to a really good place when we shift out of that to the best of our ability and really give meaning. First of all, remind yourself, I'm in love with my life. I'm in love with myself, and everything starts to turn around. You slide into this place of incredible gratitude for this gift of another day. And when we can find a meaning that's bigger than ourselves, that is where it's at, right there. Just focus on it. Obviously, Viktor Frankl's whole life's work benefited and will forever benefit people. And even just for, like us, like talking about like regular life situations, there are all kinds of things we can do that are bigger than ourselves, just in our own communities, in our own homes, in our own anywhere. And it really does make a huge difference. That momentum just shifts us out of that sort of mental trap of being caught up in whatever we're caught up in, And it kind of gives us a jump start, and that momentum, then some people call it like a mojo, you know, something, one tiny little thing, and then it starts to really pick up speed. And so that's really it. We become what we focus on, and the momentum of it has everything to do with the meaning we assign to it. And that is it. This is Kimberly Quinn and Little Giovanni signing off from the Notch in Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.